A very good morning. You're watching Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Tina Jha. These are the headlines we are tracking this Monday morning. UN vows fresh sanctions against North Korea a day after it launched a long-range rocket. Pyongyang says it fired the rocket to place a satellite in orbit. Prime Minister Narendra Modi cites seaborne terror and piracy as threat to maritime security in his address at the International Fleet Review in Visakhapatnam. Says Indian Ocean region one of the foremost policy priorities of his government. Delhi government decides to recommend CBI probe into the death of 6-year-old student at a city school last week. Parents allege shortcomings in the current police probe, write to Union HRD Minister. Sushma Swaraj assures families of hostages. 2 Arab countries have confirmed that 39 Indian workers abducted by Islamic State in Iraq are alive, says government doing all it can to rescue them. And after months of strain in relations, Nepalese Prime Minister to visit India first on the 19th of February. Visiting Nepalese Finance Minister informed Sushma Swaraj says his government is carrying on intense dialogue to resolve issues with the Madhesis. And beginning with the top international story this morning, the United Nations Security Council has vowed fresh sanctions against North Korea a day after it launched a long-range rocket. However, Pyongyang said it fired the rocket to place a satellite in orbit. The launch took place even as the international community is still struggling to reach consensus on how to respond to Pyongyang's detonation of what it claimed was a hydrogen bomb last month.
The members of the Security Council strongly condemn this launch.
The UN Security Council condemning North Korea's latest rocket launch as they vowed to take stringent measures in response to Pyongyang's violation of the UN resolutions, one among them fresh sanctions against North Korea. The rocket launch on Sunday drew condemnation from other countries including South Korea, Japan and the United States, saying it was a violation of UN Security Council resolutions.
Pyongyang claims it launched what it called a peaceful Earth observation satellite. But nobody is fooled. So-called space launch vehicles are the same technology as ballistic missiles, which are expressly prohibited by multiple Security Council resolutions.
I think this outrage is based on the fact that this is, whether you call it a satellite launch, this is the clear preparation for the missile, the long-range missile itself, and it is a clear violation of the past Security Council resolutions.
South Korea, along with the US, would soon begin discussion on deploying an advanced missile defense system to counter the growing threat of North Korea's weapon capabilities.
증대하는 북한의 위협에 대응하기 위해 한미 동맹의 미사일 방어 태세를 향상시키는 조치로서 주한미군의 사드 배치 가능성에 대한
North Korea defended the rocket launch, saying it fired the rocket to place a satellite in orbit. Koreans welcomed the launch. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un reportedly said more satellite launches were planned for the future.
정말 전원 높은 백선대국 주체 강국에서 살고 있는 크나큰 민족적 공자 자부심을 다시 한번 가슴 뜨겁게 느끼게 하는 뉴스한 거라고 생각합니다.
The launch comes a month after North Korea conducted its 4th nuclear test, although experts are skeptical of Pyongyang's claim that the test involved a powerful hydrogen bomb. Under Kim Jong-un, North Korea has stepped up attempts to build long-range missiles and warheads, claiming that it has the right to develop a nuclear deterrent in the face of US hostility towards the regime. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And back home, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has underlined that seaborne terror and piracy are the biggest threats to maritime security. Speaking at the International Fleet Review in Visakhapatnam, the Prime Minister also pitched for respecting freedom of navigation.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that the threat of seaborne terror and piracy are two key challenges to maritime security.
The threat of seaborne terror, of which India has been a direct victim, continues to endanger the regional and global peace and stability. Piracy, too, remains a strong challenge.
Addressing the valedictory function of the International Fleet Review in Visakhapatnam on Sunday, the Prime Minister, in an apparent reference to the audacious 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks, said that seaborne terror continues to endanger regional and global peace and stability. Modi also pitched for respecting freedom of navigation against the backdrop of the South China Sea dispute. The Prime Minister said that the Indian Ocean region was one of the foremost policy priorities of his government.
The Indian Ocean region is one of my foremost policy priorities. Our approach is evident in our vision of Sagar, which means ocean, and stands for security and growth for all in the region. We would continue to actively pursue and promote our geopolitical strategy and economic interests on the seas, in particular the Indian Ocean.
Modi, along with Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar and Chief of Naval Staff Admiral R.K. Dhawan, witnessed the operational demonstrations showcasing the multidimensional operational tasks undertaken by the various arms of the Navy. Referring to his government's ambitious Make in India initiative, Modi said 37 of the Indian warships participating in the fleet review were made in India and their numbers will surely rise. He also said the nation's ability to reap economic benefits from the oceans rested on our capacity to respond to challenges in the maritime domain. The Prime Minister also informed that India will be hosting the first ever Global Maritime Summit in April this year. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The Prime Minister also went to Odisha yesterday, where he dedicated IOCL's Paradip Refinery project to the country. He also inaugurated the National Institute of Science, Education and Research on the outskirts of the state. He also visited Puri later to pay his obeisance to Lord Jagannath.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Sunday inaugurated the Indian Oil Corp's refinery in Paradip and dedicated it to the nation. The 15 million tons per annum Paradip Refinery was built over nearly 16 years. The foundation stone of the 9th plant of the IOC was laid by former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee in May 2000. Blaming Congress for delay in implementation of plans and policies, Modi said his government is trying to bring a culture of completing projects well in time.
Innovation अगर बंद हो जाता है तो जीवन स्थगित हो जाता है, व्यवस्थाएं निष्प्राण हो जाती हैं, व्यवस्थाएं अगर निष्प्राण होती हैं तो जीवन कभी प्राणवान हो नहीं सकता.
Earlier, Prime Minister also inaugurated the National Institute of Science, Education and Research near Bhubaneswar. He said innovation was the need of the hour for every society. Modi, however, urged the students to innovate things which were affordable to one and all.
हम ऐसी कैसी व्यवस्थाएं विकसित करके दें, ऐसा कैसा विज्ञान, ऐसी कैसी टेक्नोलॉजी लोगों के लिए लाएं जो एफोर्डेबल हो, सस्टेनेबल हो. और मेरा हमेशा आग्रह रहता है जीरो इफेक्ट, जीरो डिफेक्ट.
The Prime Minister also visited the Lord Jagannath temple at Puri on Sunday. This was Modi's second visit to Odisha after assuming office in May 2014. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, the Congress party has reacted sharply to the Prime Minister's remark, blaming the party for non-completion of projects in Odisha. The party has blamed the erstwhile NDA government instead. The Prime Minister had said that he would have been happy if the IOCL's Paradip Refinery had been completed 15 years ago. The Congress has said that the Prime Minister is either misinformed or not informed, as 15 years ago, the NDA was in power at the centre. The party also took exception to the Prime Minister's comment that the UPA government has often failed to complete projects within the stipulated time, saying that the NDA has no history of successfully completing a project across the country. The Prime Minister's remarks came while he dedicated the IOC's largest greenfield refinery at Paradip to the nation. The Congress, in fact, has questioned why nothing has been announced for the people affected because of the refinery. The Prime Minister has also not responded to Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik's demand for special category status for Odisha. And External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj said on Sunday that 39 Indians who were taken hostage by the Islamic State more than 1.5 years ago in Iraq were alive. Swaraj, who sought a meeting with the families of the hostages, also assured them that the government was fully and continuously engaged and every possible effort was being made to ensure their safe release.
The 39 Indians taken hostage by IS more than 1.5 years ago from Mosul in Iraq are still alive. External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj informed this to the families of hostages in New Delhi on Sunday. Sushma said the confirmation came when she attended the first Indo-Arab ministerial meeting in Bahrain last month.
और वहाँ उनमें से एक ने भी ये नहीं कहा कि उन 39 लोगों को मारा गया है। सबके सबने ये कहा कि हम उनको छुड़ाने के लिए तैयार हैं और दो ने तो सीधे-सीधे ये बताया कि वो जिंदा हैं।
Sushma, who was meeting the families of the hostages for the 9th time since their abduction, said the government was continuing its efforts to rescue them. She added that 15 countries that constitute the League of Arab States had promised to help secure their release as soon as possible.
पहले परोक्ष रूप से मुझे पता चला था, अब प्रत्यक्ष रूप से पता चला है और पूरे अरब वर्ल्ड ने हमारा साथ दिया है इस पर ये कहते हुए कि वो उनको जल्दी छुड़ाने का प्रयास करेंगे.
Families of the hostages, most of whom are from Punjab, said they were eagerly waiting for the return of their loved ones.
आज का विदेश मंत्री जी द्वारा थोड़ा सा ये बताना कि ये पुख्ता सबूत हैं, मैं समझता हूँ कि परिवार को कहीं ना कहीं थोड़ी सी हौसला अफजाई हुई है, लेकिन जब तक वो बच्चे वापस नहीं आते तब तक ये सारी बातें जो हैं केवल और केवल हौसले के बराबर हैं, उससे ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं.
The Indians were kidnapped by Islamic State militant group from a construction site in Mosul in June 2014. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
For the first time since turning a prover in the 2611 case, Pakistani-American Lashkar-e-Taiba operative David Headley will depose today before a court in Mumbai through video conference. The deposition is important as it may further unravel the conspiracy behind the brazen terror strike. He would depose before the court through video conference today and the day after between 7 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. The court had on the 10th of December 2015 made Headley an approver and directed him to depose before the court today. Headley, who is currently serving 35 years prison sentence in the United States for his role in the Mumbai terror attacks, had told Special Judge G.S. Sanup that he was ready to depose if granted pardon. Justice Sanup had made Headley an approver subject to certain conditions and granted him pardon. Presently, the court is trying the case against key Lashkar-e-Taiba operative Abu Jindal. And Nepal's Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli will be visiting India on the 19th of February. This will be his first foreign trip after assuming office. This development comes in the backdrop of months of strained bilateral relations between India and Nepal. Nepal's Finance Minister Bishnu Prodil, who is on a 2-day visit to India, met External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj. Swaraj conveyed to him that India was looking forward to Oli's visit as it could further strengthen the bilateral ties between both neighbours. PTI court sources are saying that Oli is scheduled to hold comprehensive talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the 20th of February on key regional and bilateral issues. The Nepalese Finance Minister will meet his Indian counterpart Arun Jaitley today. Meanwhile, the Indo-Nepal joint military exercise will commence in Pithoragarh. In the exercise named Surya Kiran, an infantry battalion of the Indian Army and an equivalent strength from the Nepalese Army would be sharing their experiences gained during the conduct of counter-insurgency operations and jungle warfare in the mountainous terrain. With that, we slip into a very short break, but news and updates will continue on the other side. Do stay with us.
Art arisen from a multi-hued cultural canvas. tradition and cultural fervour dating back centuries. And encircling them all, there's a magic that awes. Embrace your nation's brilliant human warmth. Watch Colours of India, Sundays at 9:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
Thanks for staying with us on Breakfast News. News from the national capital now. The Delhi government has decided to recommend a CBI probe into the death of a 6-year-old student at a city school last week. This after parents of the child alleged shortcomings in the current police probe, also hinting at a possible sexual assault of their child. They even wrote to the Union HRD Minister Smriti Irani seeking her intervention. A copy of that letter was also sent to the Prime Minister's office. Soon after, the aggrieved parents of 6-year-old Devansh wrote to HRD Minister Smriti Irani seeking a CBI probe into their son's death. The Delhi government announced it would recommend a probe by the top investigating agency. Devansh's parents allege their son was sexually assaulted before his death, as they claim to have found injury marks on his private parts. The 6-year-old's body was found in a reservoir at his school, Rayan International in Vasant Kunj.
सीबीआई को सौंपने की रिकमेंडेशन तो हम भेजेंगे यहाँ से, दिल्ली सरकार से तुरंत भेजेंगे और हम उम्मीद करेंगे कि ये सीबीआई की जांच में बेहतर तरीके से जिस बात की ओर इशारा दिव्यांश के माता पिता कर रहे हैं या बाकी और लोग कर रहे हैं जिन्होंने एसडीएम की रिपोर्ट में अपने बयान दिए हैं, उन सब से सीबीआई ठीक से पूछताछ करके और इस मामले को एक जो लॉजिकल एंड है उस तक लेके जाएगी.
Devansh's father claims the police have not been cooperating with them and not taking the probe in the right direction.
बच्चा वहाँ जा ही नहीं सकता, उसको कोई भी लेके गया है और लेके क्यों जाएगा ये सब तो फिर जांच बताएगी. कि हम तो हमारी आशंकाएं जो हमें लगता है कि ऐसा हो सकता है ऐसा हो सकता है वही हम आपको बता रहे हैं, वही हमने पुलिस को बताया, लेकिन पुलिस ने तो उस एंगल को देखा ही नहीं. पुलिस ने तो सिर्फ लापरवाही का मामला दर्ज करके और अरेस्ट किए, रिहा कर दिए.
Amid serious allegations by Devansh's parents, political pressure is also mounting on the Delhi government to look into the shortcomings in the ongoing probe.
ये जो बच्चे के पेरेंट्स हैं उनकी सेटिस्फेक्शन बहुत जरूरी है और किस स्तर पर वहाँ क्या कमियां रही हैं वो बिल्कुल निश्चित रूप से लोगों के सामने आनी चाहिए और जो परिवार के लोग जो मांग कर रहे हैं उस मांग पर सरकार को काम करना चाहिए.
घर वाले पिता माता बच्चे के अगर सीबीआई मांग की जांच कर रहे हैं तो क्यों नहीं वो जांच हो, क्योंकि आखिर एक मासूम बच्चे को उन्होंने खोया है और उनकी जो भी शंकाएं हैं वो दूर करना अति आवश्यक है. और साथ ही जांच, सीबीआई की जांच या कोई भी ट्रांसपेरेंट जांच, जिससे कि ये कारण पता लगा सके और फिर उन कारणों के लिए कौन दोषी है उनको सजा हो, ये बहुत जरूरी है.
Initial investigations into the case have led the police to alleged negligence of the school management. The police also claim that the school does not have a completion certificate despite functioning for over 20 years now. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. Moving on to Bengaluru now, where a private school had an unexpected visitor on Sunday, a leopard. The animal entered the school premises by scaling a compound wall and was caught on the school's CCTV cameras. A security guard saw the leopard and raised the alarm. School authorities immediately informed forest officials and the police, who rushed to the spot. After a day-long operation, the feline was tranquilized, but 3 people got injured in the process, one of them being renowned conservationist Sanjay Gubi, who was bit on his leg and arms by the leopard. Moving on to the weather front now. Snowfall and rains in several areas of North India, including Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand, brought down mercury levels on Sunday. Drizzle in some parts of the national capital led to a marginal fall in day temperatures, making the conditions pleasant for Delhiites. Shimla and its surrounding areas experienced the first heavy snowfall of the season, while tribal areas and other hills in Himachal Pradesh recorded continuous heavy snowfall. Shimla town received 18 centimeters of snow, while Kufri, Fagu, Narkanda, Khara Pathar, Chopal, Haripurdhar and Nauradhar received 20 centimeters to 35 centimeters of snow. The Hindustan-Tibet National Highway was blocked beyond Shimla due to snow and hundreds of vehicles were stranded due to traffic jams caused by heavy snow. Meanwhile, a few areas in the higher reaches of Jammu and Kashmir received light snowfall even as there was improvement in night temperatures across the valley and also the Ladakh region.
बहुत अच्छा मौसम है। कल हम यहाँ आए थे तो ऐसा मौसम नहीं था, धूप खिली थी, एकदम से मौसम अच्छा हो गया और काफ़ी अच्छा फील हो रहा है। कुफरी जा रहे थे हम बेसिकली, लेकिन शिमला में ही स्नोफॉल हो गया। इट्स मतलब ऑसम, वे रियली ऑसम।
तापमान है वो सभी जगह मोस्ट ऑफ द प्लेसेस जो है शून्य से नीचे चल रहा है। लगातार स्नोफॉल की वजह से तापमान में काफ़ी गिरावट आई है। जैसे कि शिमला का कल दिन का तापमान 19 डिग्री था, आज जो तापमान है वो शून्य के आसपास चल रहा था।
And a look now at all the other developments slated for the day in our segment, The Day Ahead. The Delhi government's plea challenging the Delhi High Court's order on its decision to ban management quota in nursery admissions will come up for hearing today. In an appeal before a bigger bench, the Directorate of Education has sought vacation of stay before arguing that the quota resulted in a lot of maladministration and it is duty-bound to stop it. The appeal also asserts that the Delhi government has full powers to redesign nursery admission norms since education falls under the state government's domain. Last week, the High Court stayed Aam Aadmi Party government's order scrapping management quota in nursery in private unaided schools, saying the decision was taken without the authority of law. The 8th meeting of the Special Committee on Interlinking of Rivers will be held in New Delhi today to review the progress of interlinking of rivers in the country. Union Minister for Water Resources, River Development and Ganga Rejuvenation Uma Bharti will chair the meeting. Water Resources ministers and senior officials from various states will be attending the day-long meet. The meeting is expected to discuss issues such as status of Ken-Betwa Link Project Phase 1 and Phase 2, status of Daman Ganga Pinja 1 and Partapi Narmada Link projects, intra-state link proposals and restructuring of the National Water Development Agency. A final decision on whether the Firoz Shah Kotla Stadium in Delhi can host 4 matches of the World T20 tournament will be taken today. Delhi is scheduled to host 4 matches, including a semi-final of the biennial tournament starting from the 8th of March in India. But uncertainties still haunt Delhi and District Cricket Association as it is yet to obtain no objection certificates from the local civic authorities. The situation resulted in the 12th February match of the India-Sri Lanka bilateral T20 series being shifted out of Kotla to Ranchi. Meanwhile, moving to Taiwan now, where anger is simmering over building falls after Saturday's earthquake that killed at least 32 people in the Tainan city. The death toll is expected to go up further. Dozens are still fear-trapped inside the rubble. Rescue operations are underway. Meanwhile, officials have launched an investigation into the construction of the Taiwanese apartment complex that toppled in the 6.4 magnitude quake. Tainan mayor said survivors and relatives had reported legal violations. However, he refrained from giving further details.
针对有10几个人在进行救援。这目前救援呢，包括来自其他县市的特搜队都来进行协助了。
Let's now take a look at all the other international stories from across the globe in World Wrap. Tension is high in Haiti as President Michel Martelly has stepped down at the end of his term. No successor has been chosen yet as the opposition challenged a deal to select an interim leader. A runoff vote to elect his successor was shelved because of fears of violence and allegations of fraud. In a speech, Martelly said his biggest regret was that January's presidential election had been postponed. The United Nations Human Rights Chief Zaid Rad Al Hussein met families of Lankan war victims during his visit to the country on Sunday. He is on a 4-day visit to Sri Lanka. He assessed the country's progress in prosecuting alleged war crimes. Earlier, Lankan President Maithripala Sirisena had agreed to a UN resolution that called for post-war reconciliation and an investigation of all alleged war crimes. Turkey today delivered aid in the Syrian city of Aleppo as the war rages between the Syrian government and the opposition. Tens of thousands of Syrians have fled an escalating government assault on Aleppo. Meanwhile, the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, which monitors the war, said airstrikes thought to be from the Russian planes hit villages north of Aleppo on Sunday. The Spanish police on Sunday arrested 7 people with suspected links to Islamic State and other jihadist groups. Officials said the suspects provided logistical support for terrorist activities in Iraq and Syria. The alleged leader of the cell was also asked by the Islamic State to supply women for militants in the two countries. 4 of those arrested are Spanish nationals of Jordanian, Moroccan and Syrian origin. Another 2 are Syrian and Moroccan citizens. And moving on to sports news now. India continued its domination for the second consecutive day at the 12th South Asian Games, with swimmers, wrestlers and weightlifters fetching the bulk of gold medals. On Sunday, the swimmers scooped 10 medals, including 4 gold, 5 silver and 1 bronze. The wrestlers added 4 gold and a silver, while the weightlifters bagged 3 gold medals. Indian women's table tennis team won the gold, beating Pakistan, while the Indian women's hockey team defeated Nepal 24-0 in their group opener. Cycling and wushu also got India a gold medal each. As many as 5 games record were created out of the 7 events, with the Indians accounting for 3 of them.
No, that was not the second.
India is currently at the top of the medals tally with 30 gold, 12 silver and 3 bronze medals in its kitty. Sri Lanka is second with 8 gold, 18 silver and 14 bronze, while Pakistan is in the 3rd place with 2 gold medals. Meanwhile, in today's games, Indian men's hockey team will take on arch rivals Pakistan in the group encounter. The men in blue beat Bangladesh 4-1 in their opening match on Sunday. In women's squash, top seed Joshna Chinnappa will feature in the summit clash. And some more sports stories in the Sports Beat. After 2 successive losses, India came back to earn a consolation win as they defeated Kazakhstan 2-0 in the Fed Cup Asia-Oceania Zone Group 1, 5th-6th place playoff match. After Prerna Bhamri won the opening singles match, India's dawn Saturday Ankita Raina outclassed Yaroslava Shvedova in straight sets for India's win. Earlier, India lost 1-2 to Japan and 0-3 to Thailand. In the World Group, defending champions Czech Republic defeated Romania 3-2 to book their place in the Fed Cup semi-finals. Romania took a 2-1 lead, but the defending champions came back to win the reverse singles and the doubles tie. The Czech Republic will now face Switzerland in the semi-finals, which take place in April. Leicester City shocked the Premier League once more to grab a 3-1 away win to Manchester City. Robert Hood's double and a Riyad Mahrez goal helped Leicester City to top the table. With the win, Leicester extend their lead to 6 points and kept their dreams of a fairy tale title alive. In La Liga, Real Madrid kept their title hopes alive with a 2-1 win over Granada. Karim Benzema opened the scoring for Los Blancos, while Luka Modric scored a stunning late goal to keep Madrid in the 3rd place. In another game, leaders Barcelona beat Levante 2-0 to stay at the top. That's it from us in this bulletin. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.